I have to talk to you today about the problems you will encounter in black neighborhoods when trying to implement a systemic hierarchy in your attempt to rebuild these communities. Now, when you go back to these communities and you start trying to improve the community back to a functional status, you're going to encounter a few people that will display the collective mindset of the community. You will come in and try to implement an intelligent strategy which will require roles that you will designate different people to do. And for the strategy to work, each one of those roles need to be fulfilled by that person. One thing that you will learn about black neighborhoods that display the collective primitive mind is that rather than do the role of which they've been assigned, rather than acting in a manner that will ultimately improve the group as a collective, rather than thinking in terms of the bigger picture, you will find out that the people will have a problem with the person who they feel is in charge. Rather than assisting and supporting the person who is best fit to lead them, the Negro will now turn his fight in a different direction. Outside of the system that he's a part of, he may talk about the different constraints that may be on him by the dominant society. All right. But within the strategy that you have put together in the order that it takes to execute the strategy, he will have problems following what he is assigned to do. So the fight now has turned from the group who he feels has constraints on him to the intelligence of the system and the strategy of the system that he's been made a part of. So what you will find now is that the Negro will now, instead of playing his position in an intelligent hierarchy system, which will ultimately cause advancement of the collective, his fight now is to make sure that you know that you're no better than him. Now, truer words have not been spoken. But when you get in here and get in these communities and start making things happen, you need to know that rather than play the position that will ultimately help the collective, the first chance that the Negro gets to make sure you know that you're no better than him, he will do it. He will do it because your skin is black like his. You see, he will sometimes talk about you behind your back. He might sabotage you. He may even do something directly to you. But he has to get his point across to you that you're no better than him. You may not even have said to him or made it apparent to him that you even think you're better than him. But he's got to let you know this. So your strategy should be, before you deal with them, before you go in your communities and attempt to implement your plan of cleanup or plan of renovation to the community, you need the upper hand. Okay. And the best way to get the upper hand is ownership. Now, in a lot of these communities that are poor communities, you can acquire land, sometimes very cheap, because this land has been taken by the state due to taxes. And what you need to do before you go in and attempt to put in a strategy to improve things is have the upper hand. And the upper hand has to be ownership. You see, you'll have a better chance of getting the black neighborhoods to hold tightly to the position that you need them in if it's an enclosed system. In other words, it needs to be a system in which they need to be there. All right. So you'll notice that if it's a open system where there is no boss, there is no manager, there is no hierarchy system that the Negro knows that he needs to hold tightly to. Okay. In other words, there needs to be some type of invisible force that he knows that he needs to do his job here or he will be punished. Okay. If you can't get him to be in a system in which punishment is optional, you need to have ownership, because where there is no punishment available, the Negro will direct his fight now to make sure you know you're no better than him. He doesn't care about the collective as long as you know you're no better than him. There was a recent ruling in our local city, and they ended up giving the mayor a raise. When they gave the mayor a raise, the city councilman said, well, we ought to get a raise too. Now, what they didn't take into account was what all duties the mayor was doing and what all he had accomplished for the city. And for a $500 one-time raise, it was not even anything to really complain about. But they complained about it. And their basis of their argument was, well, if you getting a raise, we need to get a raise too. You see, it would be just as equivalent to say the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to give LeBron James a raise for next year. And when they announced that they're going to give LeBron James a raise, the other players said, well, we demand a raise too. You see, LeBron is more productive than the rest of the team. They rely on him more. He is what they call the key man. You see, but when you don't understand hierarchal structure, what you're going to end up doing is fighting to let the people know that you're the same as everybody else. You don't understand it. And because you don't understand hierarchical structure, you will cause the collective not to advance. So I just want to leave that with you today. It's a short word, but it's a needed one. Peace out.